Good afternoon, everyone. You made it all. Great to be here. Normally when we start with a few moments of silence. And the reason, I always like to explain why. Because often people say, why do you start with silence? Actually, it's quite interesting that all of us come from different spaces, different energy fields. And sometimes when you come together, it takes a little bit of time to align those energy fields. And sometimes this is where kind of issues can occur, can't they? When we come to it takes a while to harmonize. But having a few moments of silence enables us to harmonize our fields. And so we become kind of unified or receptive in a way. It's an interesting, a whole different ball game of a subject, of silence. And also it's a time just to relax as well in that kind of harmony. So just for a few moments, should we have a little visualization to help us? You know, that sometimes the mind needs an image to hold on to when it's actually being reflective. I think the mind can't think without an image. It can't hold the concept. So I'm going to give you a little kind of visualization just to enable us to just move into that space where we can just relax and harmonize together, if that's okay. Thanks. So in a way, just relax your shoulders, take a deep breath, and just allow yourself to, let's image ourselves by the seashore. And we find ourselves very far from the noise and activity of people and society. And all around us is a very beautiful scene. We can see the harmony of nature. And we're left behind now all the worry and confusion of our world around us. And we feel free and light. And we feel at ease with ourselves. We feel at ease with everything around us. Everything seems good, is good. And we look around us and the sky is blue. And we walk along the soft golden sands. Warm and gentle waves wash our feet as we wander in that very still, peaceful scene. And all around us there's a great feeling of silence, of calmness, of peace. And we feel at ease with ourselves. And I take in the beauty of the scene. And I feel a sense of oneness, of light, and well-being. Okay. So our topic is about behavior, isn't it? And so a very interesting thing happened to me actually this morning actually, and it's really nice when positive things happen, isn't it? When you experience positive behaviour, and someone was so kind. They were complimenting me on my driving, and I left a little note on the windscreen of my car, and it said, "Parking fine." But actually, it's interesting about behaviour. There's different aspects about behaviour, isn't it? Different perspectives. You know, there's an interesting story. You may have heard of this story. There was a guy who was on a train, and he was with two kids, and the kids were running up and down the train. And after a while, there was a sort of a couple just down from them who were getting fed up with all the kids running up and down. And one of them went up to the dad and said, "Look, can you control your kids? Can you kind of like, you know, calm them down a bit. And the dad said, yeah, they're making a bit of a noise, but we've just come back from burying their mother. And so you can understand they're a bit kind of wound up. And they changed their approach. So you can see, I think there are many different perspectives, interpretations, ideas about what is the right behaviour, what is behaviour. I think most behaviour norms are sort of generated by society, aren't they? By organisations, by culture, by religion, and so on. So in a way, I suppose, it's so things can function in an orderly and controlled way. And always there is a sense of for and against, isn't there? Whatever kind of laws or kind of things or strictures are put in place, you're always going to get kind of for and against in that particular way. I was just thinking, in ancient Greece, I think, it was mandatory that you had to do your toga, pin your toga with a brooch to the right-hand side, and your toga had to be 5 inches above the ankle. And you had to drive your chariot down the middle of the road, and any kind of dispute, you had to kind of resolve it in the forum. Whereas probably in Western societies, we have different kind of approach to kind of behaviour. One of the laws and structures is that we must cross the road by the zebra crossing, or we kind of pay your taxes, or we allow ambulances and police cars to pass us by, or when we cough, you're required to cover your mouth. Or, of course, when you go to the loo, you've got to flush the toilet. These are the kind of expected behaviours, aren't they, in the general sense, that's kind of expected. Yet possibly, I think if we lived in kind of, the norms of behaviour, if you live in a kind of totalitarian right-wing state, the laws and behaviours will be slightly different, of course, in that particular way. On a kind of a macro level or a micro level, say a parent would have a certain kind of attitude, may disapprove of their child's, the way the child dresses, or the way the child's choice of music, or disapprove of her child's friends or behaviour and so on. But also simultaneously, the child would probably reciprocate his disapproval of his mother's attitude to behaviour. So it's quite interesting in that particular way of people's attitudes to right behaviour in that particular way. Attitudes to behaviour seem to be very individual and subjective. I don't know what you think about it. It's very much like this, in that way. Okay, some of us, we might say that there's general norms for behaviour, isn't it? Maybe, probably, against killing, against stealing, or respect of property, or other forms of social kind of disruption. Generally, we want that to kind of be in that space in that particular way, and so on. Yet, if you lived, say, in a segregated, oppressed kind of a society where there's very little food, and so on and so forth, then your attitudes to behaviour, you'll take a different stance. And so there doesn't seem to be any kind of a general approach to behaviour in that particular way. We could probably say, I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear what you might think about it, that you can justify all types of behaviour. We can justify any behaviour in that particular way, that maybe it's according to circumstances that are happening at that particular time, situation or individual needs will create the approach to behaviour in that way. I think for many of us personally, probably our attitudes or approach to behaviour may be that we would have a particular view. Maybe if situations block our needs or block your wants, or stifle your freedom, or ideals or lifestyle, or deny your opinions and so on. And so we would have a particular attitude or stance. We would create a kind of response or a particular behaviour as a result of that. Yeah, any thoughts? Someone might say, what about a common approach to behaviour, isn't it? Well, you should follow your truth. Maybe that's the guideline to behaving in the manner that you feel you'd feel well about. Follow your truth. I was thinking about this. I think everybody, in a way, follows their truth. It's their own approach to truth, consciously or subconsciously, and they're trying to maybe we're all trying to reach, in our own way, a kind of consensus, universal sense of well-being. And so it's almost like we have a kind of chaos, a social chaos that's there. Everyone is doing their own thing, but we're kept in check by laws and sanctions. That's all. We can't go so far because the laws and sanctions prohibit that in that particular way. So what do we do? So what happens as a result of the kind of these processes of the kind of behavioural strictures? We bite the bullet, maybe. We comply, kowtow, or we reject the behavioural norms that have been set by society, and we react. Maybe we break the law in different ways, or we become terrorists, or we become kind of agents provocateurs, if that's the right pronunciation, or we run away. Maybe we can't bear the societal strictures, and we run away. There are certain people that avoid society because they disapprove of the kind of the structures that are set in place. But maybe for the majority, especially in England, we compromise, don't we? Compromise is probably the kind of the name of the game. That we dance. It's like a dance. We move our life, and we don't step on people's toes. We don't try to bump into each other. Maybe that's the kind of behavioural norm that we kind of live by. I don't know how you're finding yourself. We have a general kind of structure, but we act and react within that according to our own particular needs and perspectives, or our own particular issues that we have in that particular way. It's interesting, isn't it? So the question is, in a way, how can we resolve this thing about behaviour? How can we get to the grips of what is right behaviour? What is wrong behaviour? Or is there? Is there any right or is there any wrong? Because the whole of our life is predicative on this thing about behaviour, isn't it? About the norms that are set up in that particular way. What I'd like to do is to kind of examine behaviour on a deeper level. And I'd like to kind of come to a kind of base level where we can look at behaviour from two levels of consciousness. So I hope and I kind of have these two levels. I'm basically stating there's two base levels of consciousness. One is body consciousness, and the second is soul consciousness. And these are the kind of base levels from which all behaviours emanate in that particular way. And so kind of defining kind of what kind of simplistic approach to probably what body consciousness is. That's right. Body consciousness basically is really the belief, the understanding, the experience of the self being a body. This is what you are, in the kind of simplistic terms. And soul consciousness is really about the understanding, the experience, and the kind of the sense of ownership of the self as an eternal spiritual energy, a kind of non-physical being, as opposed to the body consciousness, which is the consciousness of being in a form in that particular way. And through soul consciousness, the form is what the soul consciousness experiences through. So basically, these are the two levels of consciousness that will determine types of behavior in a general sense for our short talk. So maybe it'd be quite good to kind of elucidate this a little bit more and just look at kind of the effect of, say, body consciousness. What's happening in a general picture? I know we can't cover everything. I mean, we're looking at a massive subject here, but maybe you can get the gist of it from this kind of this diagram in this particular way. So in a way, the kind of the mantra or the clarion call of body consciousness is, I want, I need, I have to accumulate. You can see there. I have to accumulate. It's like it's filling. It's like the form is empty. And it's like you're filling the form. Right? This is the role this is the activity of body consciousness, is to fill it. And so, you can see on the right there, you can see that, and we do it through various things. Probably I missed out quite a few there, but it's through kind of activities of money, accumulating of money, or status, or relationships. There is this thing, you have to have relationships. Property, prestige, acceptance, happiness. Somehow you need this, and so on. Power, control, body beautiful, and so on. So these are the kind of things. There's probably a few I've missed out there. You probably come to your mind, but I think you got the gist of it. This is what body consciousness is. The aim of it is to try and to accumulate these particular states to give you kind of what you feel you want, according to your philosophical position. Whatever may be the religious basis that you might have, or non-religious, or some intuitive state that you feel that you have to kind of work to, or the kind of the state that you've been kind of engendered when you were young, and your mother or father said you have to have this, and so on. The educational basis of your life is from what you've learned in early life. But so what happens? Okay, so I mean, a common feature of body consciousness, of course, is that you can't get enough of it. Okay, I'm using a broad brush here, but I think you get the gist that it seems that you can't seem to get enough of this. And there's a sense of worry, and there's a sense of fear that things that you are accumulating will slip away. It's like we're accumulating, but we somehow have a difficulty of holding on to them. They seem to kind of, maybe we understand or not understand, that entropy is happening all the time. Things are just falling away, even though we try to hold it. And then there's the entropy with the form of a particular body. The body beautiful can't maintain its body beautiful state. And we wonder why it's falling apart. This has been our aim, to create the body beautiful, but we can't maintain it, hold it, and kind of keep manifesting it as part of a state of well-being in that particular way. And so we go through all the different particular states that it creates. Through that kind of that state, and we've got jealousy, greed, irritability. These are some of the effects that when we start to accumulate the things on the right, you can say that anger, because you can't get enough, isn't it? Irritability, when people aren't complying with what your aim is in relationships. Jealousy, that others have got more and you need more, and so on. Violence, that you take what others have got, and so on. Hatred, maybe others, hatred because they've got enough, or hatred because they're not sharing, and so on and so forth. Fear of losing, fear of seeing things slipping away from yourself, fear that you won't get what you believe, you won't reach that kind of goal that maybe that's been implanted from an early age, that you have to reach that, but you probably can't reach it, maybe. This is these kind of goals and purposes implanted by school, by society, whatever, and somehow we can't reach it. And so there's a great fear of fear of not being accepted by the society that you're in. I have to get that because I won't be accepted by my society or my peers, or my partner expects me to have that, and so on. So these are some of the repercussions that can happen. And of course, when it's not happening, like we see there's despondency, there's hopelessness, depression, addiction. Addiction in so many different things, doesn't it? But addiction to the process, or addiction to the effects, and so on. And so what happens is that on a larger level, I'd say on a family level, on a societal level, on a national level, you can see there's social division in that particular way. There's poverty because some are holding on, some are not sharing, because there's fear. If I share it, I won't have it and they'll have it, so I have to hold on to it, and so on. There's theft, I steal it, I can't get it, so I try and steal it because I need it. Again, I'm going back to saying, you can justify all behaviours. I steal it because I need it. And so is that person right or wrong? If you haven't got it, you'll take it, won't you? You can't say that. If you're hungry, you'll steal. But other people, you'll say they're right to take it. But other person who has it will say they're stealing it, and so on. And you get violence, and there's exploitation, that you exploit people so they'll work for your own good. You feel that's the right thing to do. And we can see history tells us this. Is a whole history of the last 1,000 years is all these things, isn't it? All of this, putting it mildly. And it's happening today, isn't it? Slavery, subjugation, wars, all because we can't meet the particular norms that we've set up, of body consciousness. We need to accumulate these things. And so because of frustration, we move into these kind of particular states. And of course, we get, planetary destruction, so on. We know that the thing that's going on, ripping the planet apart, killing the animal kingdoms, destroying them, exploiting them for our own needs, and so on and so forth, isn't it? So it's all about violence, isn't it? All of these are norms of violence, behavioural norms. But they can be justified. You can confront people and say, well, I have to do it. There's the only way I can reach that. Even though, and then we might stand very sanctimoniously, we might say, but you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe you're making that position from a position of well-being, and we're condemning people who are not in a state of well-being, who are in a lack of, and of course there are other people who've got greed and so on. It's all different positions in that particular way. So the result, like going back to it in a way, we can see, history is our witness to what is happening through body consciousness. This is my particular statement is that the reason why the world is like it is because of body consciousness. Belief that we're a physical body. And of course, if you believe that, you accept that, we've been taught in schools and in the society, in religion and so on. And so we have to fulfill the needs of that particular philosophical basis. And of course, this leads to this process that kind of there's a horrible kind of circle, isn't it, in that particular way. Body consciousness brings temporary effects, but long-term misery, long-term chaos. And it's like that in that particular way. Does that make sense? Anybody fight me on this? I know it's general in a way. It's such a big topic, but it's trying to place it in context of our particular state. And I'd like to read this out. You might have heard this one. This is a poem by a guy called Jeff Dixon, and it's called The Paradox of Our Time, and it kind of encapsulates all the stuff that the horror story that I've been talking about there. And it's quite funny, but it's also terrible. The paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers. We've got wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy it less. We have bigger houses and smaller families. More conveniences but less time. We have more degrees but less sense. More knowledge but less judgment. More experts but more problems. More medicine but less wellness. We've multiplied our possessions but reduced our values. We talk too much, love too seldom, and hate too often. We've learned how to make a living but not a life. We've added years to life but not life to years. We've been all the way to the moon and back but have trouble crossing the street to meet the next neighbour. We've conquered outer space but not inner space. We've split the atom, but not our prejudice. We have higher incomes, but lower morals. We've become long on quantity, but short on quality. These are the times of tall men and short character, steep profits and shallow relationships. These are the times of world peace, but domestic warfare. More leisure, but less fun. More kinds of food, but less nutrition. These are the days of 2 incomes, but more divorce. Of fancier houses, but broken homes. It's a time when there is much in the show window and nothing in the stockroom. A time when technology can bring this letter to you, and a time when you can choose either to make a difference or just hit delete. It's an interesting article. It's a bit long, but it kind of almost encapsulates the age, doesn't it? Our time in that particular way. So, let's look at our next step. Okay. Was that up earlier? Okay, sorry. Right, it's okay. So this is the second kind of consciousness. We had body consciousness, and so soul consciousness, the kind of the alternative or the second type of consciousness that I think is the basis of activity and behavior. And this is based upon I am. In that way, the acknowledgement, this is who you are. And it's like, I am love, I am peace. You can see there, light, I am energy, and so on, truth. You know, this state is an experiential state, a state of consciousness in that particular way, full consciousness. And so it's kind of, it's creating and experiencing, as you can see, you know, as a result of that, you know, well-being. These are some of the, I'll just read them out to you. Love, unity, awareness, harmony, sort of integration of being, feelings of generosity, acceptance, freedom, sweetness, serenity, and so on and so forth. You can see there for yourself. And as a result of that kind of behavior, as a result of those experiences, which are very much very integrated and connected to the values that you can see, then what happens is, on a kind of larger level, on a societal level, on a relationship level, then it's much easier to have the result of that is respect, regard of other people's nature and your own nature, responsibility for each other, stability in society, stability on a national level, on a world level, care for each other and for other people's needs, and so on, benevolence rather than taking, because it's that soul consciousness is based upon the idea that the experience is coming from within yourself. So there is not the need to feel that you have to take from others, or take from outside yourself. You know, which body consciousness is very much about taking outside and bringing it into yourself, filling the void. Soul consciousness is about the understanding that what you have is within yourself. So it's emerging that experience from within yourself. So there isn't this feeling of wanting to take from others. It's an incredible fundamental kind of difference in consciousness. Complete change. It's kind of anti-capitalism. It's anti-materialism, anti-consumerism. What you have and what you need is within yourself. Body consciousness is based upon materialism, or materialism is based upon body consciousness. Consumerism, saying what you need is out there. You have to take it, or you have to bring it in and accumulate it and hold on to it. And you have to hold on to it, because if you don't, others will take it. And if they take it, that means they have it. If they've got it, you haven't got it. So you hold on tighter. But you find and discover it's slipped away, because it's just not a constant. So you have to take it. And you take, they've got it. Let me take it from them. And they don't want to give it to you, so you hit them. You steal it. And we can see how conflict, simply, just because the criteria of body consciousness is not being met. Very simply that. Soul consciousness immediately eradicates conflict, eradicates greed, eradicates need, eradicates all the kind of behaviours that we feel that are kind of anti kind of harmony, or anti-life in that particular way. It creates peaceful coexistence. I'm not wanting to disturb your world. I'm not wanting to kind of take from whatever you've got. And this is what's happening, I'll tell you guys, just look into the world. This is all conflicts, all issues are based upon these systems in that particular way. So we have a kind of dichotomy then, haven't we? That body consciousness and soul consciousness was creating. Body consciousness states, that what we need is outside you, spirituality, or soul consciousness is saying, you have whatever you have is within yourself. Body consciousness says everything that you need is outside yourself. It's all out there. Soul consciousness is saying you have it within yourself. You have to emerge it, experience it, become it, and then it manifests in your own self. So you've got this kind of experience, this kind of state. So it's an equation that we have to kind of resolve. Maybe the only way we can resolve it, otherwise it's just philosophy, isn't it? This is just like, it's talking a lot of words. I think we have to experience it, to kind of maybe understand it, or to accept it, and to move away from this very destructive state of body consciousness. Body consciousness is very destructive. It's anti-life. It's anti-everybody, because it actually, everybody is actually, we're fighting everybody else. We're fighting the world in many respects, because the anthem of body consciousness is, you know the song? Me, 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 me. That's the song of body consciousness. Me. If you cut it all back and think about it, and move away from your kind of preconceived ideas of yourself, everything that you do, if you're body conscious, is about you. It's about the obsession with self. It's about the obsession with your own needs. You love people because you want them to love you. You relate to people because I'm pleasant and nice and compliant, and because I want them to be the same to me. So it's all about me. But soul consciousness is just acceptance of your own self, integrated self. It's emerging and becoming contained within your own identity and your own inner beauty. So in a way, I was saying, the thing in a way is to kind of experiment with this idea. And so I've got a little kind of meditation that we have, that we can look at what soul consciousness is. It's basically the understanding and the experience of your own spiritual reality, that you are and you have Everything that you need is on yourself. You're a spiritual energy that contains your consciousness and your needs and your nature, natural nature. But it's been overwhelmed and overlain by wrong thinking, wrong philosophy, wrong attitudes, and wrong ways of living. That's kind of like it's created a strata above ourselves, and we've forgotten ourselves. We have a kind of spiritual amnesia, and we've forgotten this, and we wander around looking for the light, looking for something, but all the time it's been part of ourselves in that particular way. I just reminded of a little story. There was a guy found an eagle's egg, and he didn't know what to do with the eagle's egg, and he said, well, he put it with the chickens, and after a while it hatched out, and it grew up, and it lived among the chickens, and the eagle grew up, and he did everything the chickens did. Plucked the ground, flapped his wings, and lived in all stuff. Did everything because it lived and did the things that the chickens did. And one day he was sitting there. It was getting grey in the beak, and he looked up and he saw this very beautiful being in the sky. And he said to one of the other chickens, he said, who's that beautiful being in the sky? And one of the other chickens said, that's the eagle. He's the king of the bird. We're just chickens. Our kingdom is of the earth. So the poor old eagle lived and died as a chicken because that's who he thought he was. And so in a way, it's like our consciousness. We've restricted ourselves because of programming, because of wrong philosophy, wrong beliefs. We've forgotten. As I was saying, we have this kind of amnesia of spiritual awareness. And so all we, in a way, have to do is kind of discover it. It's just like through silence. Basically, I feel, my experience, is just by going into the realm, into the dimension of silence, into ourselves, which is a completely antagonistic approach. Body consciousness is all there. It's out there. Experience is there. But spirituality is about going inside, going into the inner world of silence. And as we go in, we connect. And the minute we connect, it emerges like a kind of kundalini energy, like a kind of a massive inner flow of power that emerges. And it kind of it comes to the surface of consciousness and enables us to experience that equanimity, that peace, which we've been looking for. We're all looking for it, but we think it's not that. But we saw the scenarios I painted earlier. They don't work, do they? They don't work. The old systems of consumerism, the old systems of materialism don't work. Because, in fact, we're not physical, but we're metaphysical. We're spiritual. And so by taking our consciousness into the inner world, we can connect. So let's try that. As you can see on the slide there. And it's just, again, just visualize. Sometimes we need an image, or sometimes you just need a thought. We have different approaches to consciousness. Just imagine maybe a light. That in the center, in the kind of pineal area. And just imagine that this light is there. And all we're doing is connecting with this light. Just connect. And just allow, and the minute you connect with it, it's like a kind of an explosion of consciousness. It explodes and just fills our being with this. This is all that soul consciousness is. We're reconnecting with our primal consciousness. And just feel it. But the difficulty is holding it because of old habits and old consciousness. It slips away. So we use an affirmation. Affirmations are really talking to the kind of subconscious that kind of says, this is what I am. So we have to affirm it. That how long have we been told you're silly, you're clever? Because we have to keep talking to ourselves, repeating the mantra of awareness. I am. I am. And the subconscious eventually will begin to accept it. Because you've been told for a long time, I'm silly, I'm not good enough, I'm not clever, isn't it? And then you turn around and say, I'm not clever enough, I can't do it. We're used to these mantras of control. The subconscious is very used to being kind of educated by control mechanisms of language. And so by just using the terminology of awareness, I am peace. And eventually it will accept that. It's like an acceptance of it. We're kind of like, we're re-educating, reprogramming, kind of, re-educating our awareness into this acceptance. Otherwise it will slip back again. Our old self will reimpose itself in that particular way. So shall we try this experiment? It's a very short experiment, but has massive repercussions in that particular way. So again, imagine, just only a few minutes, but just imagine, just hold in front of you this image, if you like, or the thoughts, whatever you feel comfortable with, this beautiful light. And just connect with it, and allow that light just to flood your being. I'm a being of eternal energy. My nature is of light and love and peace. I experience this awareness. I become this. So I repeat it again. Hold that light in front of you. This beautiful, shimmering, subtle light. I'm a being of eternal energy. My nature is of light and love and peace. I experience this. I become this. And just hold it, if you can. Just hold this thought. Just no thought. Just that state of lightness. Okay. It's quite easy, isn't it? In a way, this concept is quite easy, but the practice is difficult, in the sense of the stuff that we have to that militates against it. This old nature, old programming, questioning mind, low self-esteem, all these things kind of we carry with us, and we have to kind of keep working against, but working for them in a way. And I think it gives you the courage. One of the aspects of soul consciousness, it gives you the kind of power to hold it, because this is our inner nature. We can hold this power, and this gives us the courage to be who we are, to confront the old norms and forms that are there within us. These are all our old false personalities. We're all full of false personalities, false norms, false faces, that we manifest all these kind of personalities for different person situations and so on. But we're trying to manifest our real personality, which is of light. Your real personality is of peace. Your real personality is of love. And these will then formulate within you values and qualities and virtues, which will then enable us to interact in a way that will be meaningful, effective, and we don't really have to worry about, performing, looking at negative behaviours and stuff, because all we're doing is realigning with our truth, and automatically the right things will happen. You will say the right things, do the right things. Naturally, this will kind of happen. It's not like working against this or going into trying to kind of unwind and unravel the kind of complexity of old behaviourisms. You don't need to. It's like a kind of, like a glass of water, isn't it? If you've got a dirty water, you don't need to. You just keep filling it with pure water, and it displaces the old. I feel you don't really need to kind of work hard at your kind of defects that you have. You just have to keep filling yourself with light. These are old cliches, I know, but it's like filling yourself with love. And it displaces the old behaviours that caused you difficulty. It will displace all the kind of situations that that were causing kind of difficulty with you in that particular way. So, maybe a little kind of experiment. Let's have a little experiment. You might say, yeah, it's all right, but let's try. Okay, let's try a very simple one. That experience of soul consciousness, what it does, it's like lighting an inner light. What I notice when you're going around a lot, that you go for a walk anywhere, and people are it's like the houses are all shut down. All the shutters are down, the lights are turned off. It's like that. People are like that. And the minute you go near, so if you walk past somebody, you smile at them. It's like you ignite their light. It's like it triggers. And so smiling is an indication of, in a way, of consciousness. It's like the smile illuminates. It's like a light is being lit. And when you smile at others, it triggers the other light, isn't it? If I smile, we can smile. Everything changes. When you smile, everything changes. Sometimes you might need to laugh at things. It's like see the funny side of things. It's like I heard the other day there was a break-in at the local police station, and a newspaper article said the police have got they stole all the toilet bowls and basins, and the line said the police have got nothing to go on. But you laugh, it's smile. But you smile. See, what happens is it kind of changes the perspective in that particular way. What about, I don't know if you do this, sometimes you do this, is turn and just greet each other and say, how are you? Smile, and maybe just turn to the person beside you, all right? And just say, how are you? Have a lovely day, or something like that. Sure. Isn't it interesting? But it's a simple kind of little thing. We can't do much, But what it does, it's an interaction of energy. That the energy field that you carry interacts with the energy field of the other person, and it activates the energy field of the other person. It kind of triggers consciousness. It kind of interacts and pulls them into another space. Just as we interact and connect with a positive energy, in that particular way. And that's just on that level. I mean, on a high level, you can do with your mind. Do with your mind the same effect. This is like, as you go deeper into meditation, you don't need to even communicate with your mouth. You communicate with your mind. And have the same, but I think it has a greater effect, actually. It reaches the mind, the heart mind of the other person. A fantastic, powerful effect. But look how the effect of language that's filled with that vibration of good wishes. And it connects. Good wishes are so powerful. So powerful. It kind of washes away the psychic negative cloud that maybe the other person's enshrouded with, that's covered themselves through kind of wrong thinking or waste thinking, or influences of the atmosphere, or influences of the energy field around, has trapped them. Old karmic accounts has trapped them, and they haven't got the power to move away from it or push it away. But an interaction of a new energy lifts it, gives that other person space. I always think, don't underestimate just saying hello, how are you to somebody. Massive effect. Just as we connect with others in that particular way. There's another little game I'd like to play. You right for a few games? We don't mind. I'm going to pass some pens around. My lovely assistant there, Tracy, is going to pass some pens around. I've got a few pens here. All right? Can we just pass some pens around? Just pass it around, keep them passing. I'll use these. Please don't pinch them, though. There we go. Can you just pass it there? There we go. Just pass them around. Just keep passing them around. Okay, right, just pass them around, okay. All right, okay. Just give them around quick, fast as you can. As fast as you can. Just keep passing them. Right, okay. Right, okay, right. Now, okay. Now, okay, stop. Okay, that's. Now, for this example, that was okay. But what you didn't do, you didn't pass it with love. You know this again, but never you can get it. Now I want you to pass it with love. Connect with the other person. Because you know before, pass it with love. Okay, go on now. Come on, here we go. Keep passing with love. Oh, there's such love going on here. This is Woodstock. Come on. Okay. But, you know, like this, I know it's a little experiment, but we can see. But what's happening is triggering memory. It's triggering subconscious experience of your innate nature. It's like love. Love is a kind of an energy that when you experience it, it fires up, and it's like it comes. Maybe our love is dormant, or the other person love, and what it is, it brings it to the surface. When you meet love, it brings it to the surface, and it reminds memory. Old memory is reminded. This is love, and it brings it. It's kind of triggering. It's reminding the other person of this energy, of this quality. Maybe they've been isolated, trapped in a kind of materialistic kind of world of technology or of whatever. And it's like bringing them back to this kind of truth. It's very interesting, you know, that what happens on a kind of psychic level, on a spiritual level. There's another little experiment I want to try. Okay, this one is a bit deeper, right? I want you to give you a sheet. I love you, Tracy, my wonderful example. You need a pencil or a pen, or if you want, you can still do it without it. And can I pass these around? Can you just pass them around? This little sheet, all right? This is not like GCSE or anything like this. We are writing something down. We've got pens. You should always bring a pen with you. Right, can I pass these around? Thank you. Can you pass them? Yeah, thanks. No, yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you. Everyone got one? Right. Now, I want you to kind of, again, this is, it's very simple. It says you are a soul. You can. I want you to now to turn to the person either side of you and intuit that person, okay? To say you are, what type of soul do you think that person is? What quality? So, and whatever you think it'll be the right thing, actually. Don't think, well, I'm not sure. No, it will happen. This, again, is trusting our intuitive, psychic kind of consciousness. Often we're very right, but often we doubt ourselves, and we need to kind of always refer to other things. But often our world is here within us, a world of awareness. And so whatever comes to your mind, just write what type of soul that you think that person is. What type of soul, whatever word you want. And then it says you can. What do you think they can do? Write down. Okay, what do you think they can do? You know, you can, I won't say it, but you can write down anything that you think they can do. So what type of soul is they are? Just turn to the person beside, just look at them, write it down. And then give it to them with love. Don't think too much. Don't think too much. Okay. Right. Okay. Now. Okay. Then when you receive it, accept it. Accept what they've done. Just look at it for a while and accept it. Okay. Has everyone got something? Everyone got a little blessing? Everyone got a little blessing? Right, okay. But what I want you to do now is on the same piece of paper on the back or whatever. I want you now to affirm it to yourself. I am that quality, and I will. Again, so it's not I will. So I am, whatever the blessing, or whatever the virtue, the power that person wrote, I am this. And then secondly, what they said you can do, I will. I will do the thing that's there. I will save the world. Okay? And then just to hold that and just reflect upon that for yourself. It's okay. Is everyone? No one's lost. We are lost but now found. Are you okay? Everyone okay? Clear on that? So you write, I am that. So it's like an acceptance of the blessing that you were given. Because we hear lots of things. Oh, you say you're a good person, but not saying I am this. You know, like it's like in school. You know, children are told, "You're a good boy, you're a good girl," but they're never told to say, "I am a good girl, I am a good boy." It's like it's you reiterating it to yourself, reaffirming it, realigning with it. I am this. This is really what meditation is. This is what spirituality is. It's recalling it, remembering it, becoming it, maintaining it, embedding it in us, in our awareness. You know, we can listen to so much philosophy and words, isn't it? We've been brought up with all this stuff, but it's actually experiencing it. It's like being it. And then I will. This is an important one. I will. I will do it. Not you can. Yeah, I can. But no, I will. Means you'll do it. I will. I will weed the garden tomorrow. Okay. So these are interesting kind of things that happen, you know, and you know all the kind of the psychological aspects that are kind of working on ourselves in that particular way. Very simplistic, very simple kind of things always drop around, don't they? And what happens is it kind of changes your behavioural stance to yourself. And this is what, making these kind of affirmations, this is really what I think is meditation. Meditation is this, it's just simply affirming to yourself your truth. It's not really long-winded meditations, you know, which is just streams of consciousness which pacify the mind when you're a bit disturbed. Oh, that's nice. It's like you listen to music and you feel good. But it doesn't, you're not changed. It doesn't bring, what we need is transformation, isn't it? This is transformational consciousness. You're changing, consciousness is another big old jargon word, isn't it? Your awareness. Changing your attitude to life. And your behaviour then moves into a very positive way. And then of course you become a nicer, amenable person like me. You become nicer, or you become nicer. Automatically. And people will like you. You don't need to go around wanting people to like you, wanting people to love you. You are it. You are naturally that. And people will like you. They'll love you. They won't, you know, they'll just say, well... And they'll then, but the main thing is they'll want to be like you. You become a kind of mirror. You know, it's like if you've got kids, you know, they'll see, you know, you can say you've got to be a good builder. They'll see through your behaviour. You're the example. You become examples. You know, you can't, it's true, isn't it? You can't tell anybody anything. You should do this, that. Everyone knows it. And it's like, but they need examples, they need mirrors, they need kind of things in front of them to show them, kind of signposts. You're a signpost in a way, isn't it? You become, you know, when you look at all the great souls, it was their lifestyle that made the impact. You think of Mandela, you think of Mother Teresa, all these guys. It was lifestyle that made the impact. Not so much the philosophy. You look at it afterwards, but it's how they lived. You know, their self-sacrificing, their kind of selflessness, their humility. That's what made the impact. And the same with if we got friends and family. It's like you can't tell people, but it's actually it's behaviour. Our topic is behaviour, isn't it? This right behaviour. The self-consciousness is this kind of way of right behaviour, right way of life, and things will work. All we have to do is work on ourselves in that particular way, which we're all trying to do in that particular way. And there's another little area. Is that okay? There's another little thing I'd like to show you. It affects. We're looking about different effects, and I'd like to look. Hopefully, this will work about the effect of atmosphere. There's a short little video. If I can I bring it up, Mark? Can we? I can't find we won't reach down to the start. So we need cooperation. This is a video which you might have seen it actually. It's about the effect of vibration. It's the effect. It's really it's only about 3 minutes, and it's a kind of cartoon, but it's kind of really effective. Hopefully it works. There you go.
Is it got audio?
No, it's just what it. Yeah. Hopefully it's all there. Yeah. This is called Lights of the World. You can get it on actually YouTube, this one actually. very short. But you get the gist of it, doesn't it? How through meditation, the guy meditating, and just immediately you can have that effect. It's all about your light lights your light, but also we light other people's lights, just through in different ways. Okay. So I think we can see kind of the aspect of what soul consciousness does. It helps us sort the right behaviour for ourselves and determine that, and helps us realign with the right behaviour. And if we meet other people's behaviours, or we haven't talked about other people's negative behaviours, but it gives us the understanding why they're behaving like that. And there is an understanding and compassionate awareness that that's how they're behaving. But also, the experience of soul consciousness creates a kind of an auric field of protection that helps us deal with the effect of negative behaviour. We're not taking it personally. And this is a big topic in itself, but in a very kind of brief way, it helps us kind of cope with it and deal with it, understand it, and also kind of help the other person not increase the negativity by reacting, but kind of working with them in a very loving way, and so on. So, also the effect of soul consciousness, of course, it opens up to deeper senses of deeper aspects of relationship. We can deepen our relationship with others on a wider level. It helps us take us into the unlimited nature of being, and also into the dimension of God consciousness. So it's a kind of a platform to take us into higher awareness. So I'd like to finish there, and maybe we've got time for some easy questions. Or difficult questions. Anyone to share anything, that they'd like to share. Yeah, or a song, you want to do a dance or something. You can play a room up here if you want to come up and do. Anybody got a mic? If anyone wants to say anything or share anything.
Would you like to share with us that some behavior that you have done and regretted and to think of that? Is it a hard question?
What was the question?
Would you like to tell us? Okay.
Sounds like a difficult question.
I wanted to ask if you would like to share some behavior that you have done and regretted, and how do you cope with it, or what do you do about it afterwards?
Some difficult situations.
Some unwanted behavior that you have done. I mean, if you don't mind, just because we all do it.
Some behaviour.
Some behavior that you have done and regretted it afterwards, and how do you deal with it?
What I regretted afterwards?
Mm-hmm. Difficult one.
I've never done anything wrong. I cannot tell a lie. But I tell you one thing. One thing was, it's very, I don't know really the answer. I was in a shop, and I kind of, I bought something. Someone asked me to go into a shop to buy something for them, and they told me to go to this charity shop to buy this thing for them, one of my neighbours. So I went in, and I saw the object that they wanted. They told me where it was. So I went in, and I kind of like looked at the price, and I said, oh, and I noticed the real price had dropped down, and I ignored it. I saw it was there, and I ignored it. I kind of went, and I brought it to the woman, and I didn't say anything. I kind of and I said, I was buying for this woman. I thought I didn't care, and she said, oh, there's no price on it. And I knew I should have said there was a thing, but I didn't. And I bought this, and she said, oh, I don't know, 10p. Like it was a statue or something. And I kind of afterwards, I kind of took it back, and I went back, and I couldn't. I live nearby it at this place, and I was sitting there, and I couldn't. It weighed such heavy on my mind, that this was not true. This wasn't right. Even though it was something, it was such a blot, it was such a heavy thing in my mind, I couldn't live with it. I tried to forget it. I was like, this is just something, trivial. And and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And everywhere I went, I was seeing this statue, and I was thinking about, and I had to go. I went for, and I was still seeing it, and I thought, and I realised this is really that I wasn't. This was something, a deep thing actually. This was very deep, and this was really. I was going against a fundamental truth of being. It's like dishonest. It was almost like stealing, actually. I was really being hard. I was trying to do. I went back to the shop, and I still had the object because I hadn't given it to this woman. I went back to the shop and I said, "I think it was a mistake. Here's the thing." And he said, "Do you want your money?" I said, "No, and here's the money for it as well." And I gave her extra money, and then immediately I kind of resolved it. It was something like it was such a kind of living an untruth. It was something that I did wrong. It was, even though it was slight, but it was so heavy on my heart that it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think this is what happens, isn't it? With things that happen, you know it's wrong, but you have to kind of resolve it. And I had to do it immediately, in that particular way. And that was kind of like my practice of meditation. Wouldn't allow me to live with that kind of that wrong action.
It's kind of your own being against your own self. It's kind of being against your own truth.
Yeah, you feel that. Yeah, you kind of have this kind of, what's right and wrong, really. But what we do is we go against it, or we ignore it, or we kind of disregard what we feel we know we should do or not do. It's like speaking up or facing the issue, being truthful. Sometimes you need to be brave to speak up. Like one of the things that's so conscious is having courage. I think one of the main qualities of things that's so conscious is courage. To be yourself in a world of illusion, a world of falsehood, a world where false norms and false faces are applauded, are encouraged. To be somebody that you're not, isn't it? To show false faces, to comply with a norm that false illusory place is creating, and you have to comply to be accepted. If you don't, you get rejected, of course. Cultures, religions, belief systems. You have to, but if you're not aligned with it, then don't go with it. But you need to be courageous because you feel the consequences might be rejection, ostracization, and so on. But actually, the effect is not as bad as you think. That's the fear that these illusory states create. That if you don't, these things will happen to you. And it's like if you follow your truth or your spiritual truth. I always think that the right thing will happen. You might have to go through a few waves, a few issues. But you arrive at well-being. You arrive at your own truth. And people will love you in the end for it, even though initially they won't. They may not like it because you're a mirror. That you become a mirror for them. And they don't like it. They want to break the mirror. They want to criticize you for it. When I started meditation, I had a lot of criticism when I was doing meditation initially. And I come from a very fundamental Christian background. And these were all kind of things that were completely alien. And I had enormous kind of but it was like, in a way I didn't care, but it was like, but I had to face it. It would be easier to comply with it and just, kowtow to it. Like I was saying, going earlier, bite the bullet. But it was, it was compromising to some degree, in the sense of what their belief is. But you need courage to hold on to truth. I think in the world of illusion, the light of truth is always attacked, isn't it? It's always attacked. And it's easy to walk away from it, You may have so many your own experiences that being yourself or maintaining your position can be often very challenging, can't it? To say what you believe. I know in the right tactful way sometimes, but sometimes to speak up and stand up. And in a way, you feel better for it in that way. You feel better for it, even though there might not be the universal acceptance of love coming your way full of flowers. But in a way, I think people in their hearts know that you're right. You know, they may be not initially agreeing with you, but in their heart they are, to some degree. Or they enjoy, say you're making a stand or a position, it may well be that they're saying, that's what I would say, or that's what I would do. And they thank you for it in that way. I know you don't do it for that, but I think this is a challenge of all spiritual, you're all spiritual warriors. And your light will always be attacked. The darkness will always attack the light. But the light is always stronger. The darkness has got no effect. There's no power. There's no power. But we think it's got power. We think it has validity. I think it has got substance. There's no substance. There's nothing. Truth is beautiful, isn't it, in that way? So I think that's the kind of thing sometimes that we have to face, isn't it? Everyone's got their own story here, I'm sure of it, you know, that you've been through. Yeah, I'd like to say.
First of all, thank you for today. This might make sense, this might not make sense. So we obviously come from the body consciousness world, I think at least I do. To suddenly now change to soul consciousness, what is the one tip you would give a newbie? And how come we're not taught this previously in our schools? Because the kind of problems we face through today, it's not because of my age, it could be also earlier when I was younger.
Yeah. So why weren't we taught earlier? Well,
because I guess it's quite new for us.
Yeah, I think
so,
it's kind of like the past ages have been an age of religious philosophies. If you look back in time, all the belief systems that have been there, they've been support systems for the world in many ways. All the great religions, you know, at their particular time, the prophets came and they gave particular teachings, or their followers gave kind of laws, and people lived by that. It was enough for that particular society. But what's happened is that as things have deteriorated and things have kind of imploded, I believe anyway that now none of these things work, and it's like it's a time when we have to return to the fundamental nature of consciousness or truth, when you're not told in school because the curriculums are based upon the norms of the society, which is governed by materialism. You know, they don't want you to be free thinking, do they? In school, they don't want you to be free thinking. They don't want you to have different ideas. They want you to comply. They want you to accept it, to just there and just carry on in a kind of, it's like subjugation. It's a sort of like mental spiritual slavery that goes on, and so. Spirituality is return, you know, there have been many great teachers in the past, and they've all talked about it, you know, like, well, you know, I'm not talking about the religious heads, but within all the great belief systems, there's always been teachers that have been kind of pointing towards truth and light, and many people have, you know, aligned themselves with that light. And I think this is a particular time now, a crisis time of our planet, where we have to really now return to our own truth. As things fall apart, we can't rely now on things. They won't help you. I think the only help that we can help now is our own truth, you know, and our connection with God and our connection with each other as spiritual beings. I think that's the only return to that. I mean, you know, you should go to the schools and go and tell them, why weren't we learned it? I mean, I wish I learned it too. You know, I went through a whole thing of just repetition, you know, it was kind of like, didn't mean anything. It's just that you could be repeating anything. And this is what happens, isn't it, with kind of fundamentalism. It's just philosophy, but there's no experience, because the teachers have no experience themselves. So how can they give you an experience? You know, they're looking for the same truth as well. I think we're all in the same boat, aren't we, in that particular way? Any other questions?
Yeah,
Sure.
if it was given to you, it's an interesting question. First I thought it's not very relevant, but then when I was listening to the rest of the question and the answer, I realized we all have children and we all send them to schools. And then...
you need to keep it up.
Yes, I was just going to say, if you were to send a child to school today, you know, would you still send them to the normal school system, or would you have
any recommendations for different styles?
Yeah, you've got to go to school. It's the law. I think the only way to do it, if you've got children yourself.
Yeah, there are homeschooling parents.
Well,
aren't
you're
there?
lucky, yeah. That not everyone can do that. I think the only way to do it is just live your example as a wonderful living saint. You can help your child, yeah. But in that way, and teach and talk to your children about what you believe and share that. It's a difficult situation because it's interesting that we see children as children, but they're not children really. These are actors that are passing through time and space. They're just in a small form. When you see a little child, I don't know if you're a believer in rebirth, but 6 months, like a year ago, they were an adult. It's an amazing fact. There's a lady pushing a pram. Maybe a year ago, it was just a person that was driving a car, sitting around, and suddenly something happened. So it's kind of, I think, that unawareness that these are spiritual beings in small forms. And what I feel now, because of what's happening is, because of time is accelerating and influence, that behavior is changing. We talk about behavior, it's an interesting thing. Behavior is emerging quicker within children. So you get children who have massive needs. They have got, emerged talents. Suddenly come to the fore because it's kind of like it's there on the surface, and you get you get children who suddenly they're talking like adults because the adult personality is so fresh in their consciousness that it's still there, and they're not children. So it's a difficult situation. That the form is full, they haven't got no power, they've got no, but their attitude is of an adult. And so you have to kind of manage that. It's very difficult, isn't it? Very difficult equation to deal with a small... And imagine what schools are like. They're hellholes. You've got all these kind of these small bodies who have got adult attitudes and opinions and various wants and needs, and they want relationships. Suddenly they're remembering past feelings, emotions, and so they want relationships at 10. It's kind of I think it's because of time. I think it's like compacting of time at this age, and so things are really accelerating. This is why we get so much chaos now, and this is why I think soul consciousness is a way we can understand it and deal with it and cope with it and enable ourselves to kind of deal with this very turbulent sea of energy that's happening around us. It's not easy. I wouldn't like to say otherwise. So we need spiritual power. You really do need spiritual power at this time, I think. And so meditation is the way to give you power. Should we finish with a little meditation? Should we finish one? Even though I'm a great believer in affirmations, really, but I've got a little meditation. This is from I took this from one of my books. Actually, I thought it was easier, and it's really based upon soul consciousness. This meditation about affirming it and experiencing it. Okay. And maybe you can just take this energy and and take it home with you. That feeling, and share it with those at home. Okay, so let's just step back into our own space now for a moment and connect with our own light. So now I journey into the inner world of my own being, into the quiet, still room of my mind. It is a place, a space of calm, stillness, and peace. And in this light, this detached state of ease and serenity, I'm aware of my true form and identity. I am a living, pure, eternal energy, a shining light point of radiant light. And now I emerge and experience my original spiritual nature, my original spiritual qualities, those of love and light and peace. And so the pure energy of love emerges, flows through me, fills me, surrounds me. I become that love. I am that love. And the light energy of peace emerges. I go into that peace. I become that peace. I am that peace. I am that light, that love, that peace, that bliss, that natural state of harmony and true being. And I stay focused, centered and empowered in this state of pure consciousness, aware that my form is of light, my nature is of peace, my being is of love. Thank you.